Well, hey, you're back. Great. Do you hear voices when you're playing role playing games? Maybe you do. Do you make voices when you're playing role playing games? It is a little bit of theater, after all. Let's talk about that when we get right back.
Arts games. Arts games. Arts games. Hoorah!
Okay, and we're back. So, voices. This topic, this thought came to me when I was reading through some Discord comments and taking a look at some interactions, and a GM who is a GM that I really respect, a game master, said that he didn't do voices. And when people ask, well, why? Like, that's kind of the point. They get to you get to do voices, and he said because he felt it was cringe. Cringe. Well, I applauded him for using cringe in the right way, but cringe, I never really thought about it. And then I think a lot of my humor, what I try to do when I'm joking around with people, is I put myself down a lot. It's a very self-deprecating humor, and I think that comes from growing up watching, like Rodney Dangerfield and Bill Murray and that kind of thing. And I think the voices are part of that. And if I can make my players immersed in the game in another way and interact with them, and draw them out of themselves and into their characters, that to me is fun. That's a fun part of what role-playing games are all about. And especially when you get a group that I've been playing with this group since 1981 in one shape or form or another. So I know them and they know me. So we've experimented with voices. We've tried different voices out. We've done all kinds of things, and it's been a lot of fun. And sometimes it's hilarious. And sometimes you get into like a duel, a voice duel with two different characters. And I think it really came to a head when I was running a Vampire the Masquerade game in the late 90s, where I was kind of bored of the vampire thing. So I threw in a whole bunch of Arthurian legends, and it became kind of a reincarnation of the Arthurian cycle in the modern day. And Merlin turned out to be the guy that was kind of behind everything. And my Merlin was based on Sean Connery, the Sean Connery voice. And so I talked like this a lot. It's less of a accent and more of a speech impediment in this way. It's a lateral S. And the way I learned how to do that was I actually put a keychain, a clean keychain, in my mouth, so that my back teeth didn't move when I spoke, and so I could speak like this. And then I added that little whistle. So that became Merlin, and it was a lot of fun, and people were looking forward to it, and I was looking forward to playing Merlin. I'd have Merlin show up just so I could talk like that in the game. It was a lot of fun. And so what I thought I'd do, and if you've seen any of my actual play videos, you'll know that I do add voices, like little goblins speak, like, hey, I'm a little goblin, that kind of thing. It's fun. I think it adds a lot to the character. It changes the way that the players want to interact with the characters, and I think it's kind of a foundation in role playing. I mean, role playing is also tactical choices and strategic planning and that sort of thing. There's a heist element to it as well, and a strategy element to it as well. And I don't want to downplay any of that because that's part of the fun. But I think that the voices and acting in character is what makes me smile when I think about role playing. So what I thought I'd do is I thought I would take a couple of miniatures. So I went to my game shelf, video of game shelf over here, over there, video of game shelf. And what I did was I picked out some binders. Now I store my miniatures in binders. I can put a lot of miniatures in a binder, and it's easy to store. It just fits on a shelf. So I pulled out the first binder, and it was a fantasy set. And the first miniature that I picked was a Lish. So this guy is going to be the first voice that I'm going to try out. And he's got that great hair, very fancy. He's holding a magic bone of some kind. And he has an elixir that he's going to drink. Maybe a healing potion, maybe it gives him energy or power or restores his magic points or something. whatever it is, I don't know. But I would imagine he would become almost like a Vincent Price kind of villain, little, what are you doing in my tomb? That kind of thing. I would imagine he would like be annoyed that the heroes are there. Get in, my minions. That kind of thing. He'd be talking like this, and it'd be so annoying that the players would want to destroy this Lich, because not only is he doing evil things with undead, he's also got that annoying voice, and he wants to get those guys. Get them, oh, you horrible adventurers. Get them, my minions. And he would send them off. So I wouldn't want to play it for laughs every time, but I think in this case, having this villain that is speaking like this, with sort of an archaic voice, an old-timey voice in a fantasy setting, might be a good way to get that villain to talk. And I'm just picking these at random and just kind of having a reaction. I've never used that voice for that character before. So the second binder that I picked out was from part of my Contraption and Wild West series. And I opened up the page randomly, ended up on a Contraption page, and I got a miniature from Contraption Set 3. Okay, so this guy is a bit of a workman. He looks like he's got his suspenders in his work bag, toolkit, I guess, and he's holding onto a spanner or a wrench. And I imagine he has sort of a British accent, which I'm not that good at, but I would imagine sort of a Michael Caine sort of thing. Hello there. It looks like you need to get your clockworks in order, that kind of thing. And he would just step in, do what he has to do. Characters would interact with him. He could be a specialist that's called in. He could be an NPC that is in the location the characters go to. I don't know. He could be an independent agent that is just sort of in the area. Well, it was sort of like this. And I would say sort of I was sort of channeling a Michael Caine there. You know what I'm saying? So he's fix that straight away. He's going to fix that straight away. So the third miniature is from a retro space set. So I pulled out the science fiction binder, and it looks like I picked into the pirates section, the space pirates. That's retro space 6, an older set, and the one I picked out, I really like this one. I really like the way she looks. She is a Imperiax who has joined up with the pirates. Now, the Imperiax are kind of my blue-skinned space elves in my campaign in retro space, and they're sort of vampiric, kind of that way. So maybe you could talk a little bit like this when you are seeing her, and she would be extremely. Oh, it sounds like Inspector Clouseau, but she would be speaking this way to you. And you would not want to cross her because she has a flaming sword. And this sword can cut through the strongest of space metals. Don't forget, it is a pulp era. So, her, space flaming sword instead of a lightsaber. Ray gun instead of blaster or laser pistol. She's going to have a sort of old school feel to it. And so I think that sort of femme fatale, you got a speech is like this, and she's, what do you think you're doing? Get away from that machine. Flash Gordon, that kind of thing. So the next miniature is coming from the Garifrax binder, which is just a little one. I've kept them separate because I like to use them for specific campaigns and specific things. And so I reached in and I found one from Garifrax 5. And Garifrax is sort of a storyland, kind of like fairy tale, dark fairy tales. And so this guy is a minion monster guy. He looks a bit like a piggy orc to me. He's got kind of a purple color scheme. And he's got a big swinging mace, big mace and a flail kind of thing happening there, swinging over his head.
And I would think he would speak like this, because he's got that piggy mouth and those teeth. He's got tusks, little tusks, wee tusks, coming up. Me mum says that I will soon have bigger tusks. But in the meantime, I'm just going to stand still while I hit you with this mace. So I would speak without him like this. Get back here, you shall not pass.
That kind of thing. Yeah, okay, this is kind of fun. And finally, fifth miniature comes from my Save the Day binder, and I reached in randomly, reached into a villain section and pulled out this guy. Here he is here, and it is the Mighty Owlbear from my Vile Villains set. And I think this is the original one. This is the one I printed out before I even had the set ready, because he's still on a Serene Fist base. But I really like this guy. He's got a lot of character. He's kind of a throwback to old, D&D with an owlbear, but as if he was a supervillain. So I gave him these massive claws, kind of like Wolverine-like claws that he's sort of strapping around his hands, and this costume that maybe doesn't let him fly, but lets him glide, and also provides a lot of protection. And he's got these cargo shorts. The cargo shorts, kind of denote the fact that he's maybe just a bit of a fandom guy, and he kind of talks like this. I don't want to maybe have him talk like the comic book guy from The Simpsons, maybe, but he would correct people when they're wrong. You want to talk to me about Star Wars? I'll talk to you about Star Wars. I was there on the first day, lined up to see that movie, and let me tell you something. Okay, that kind of thing. So, hold on. So he looks kind of goofy, but also kind of imposing, and I think he would pack a real punch. In fact, when I've used him in the game, he packs a real punch. He's a tough guy, and maybe, having this voice, which is sort of, kind of saucy and doesn't respect heroes. You're not a hero. Okay, hero's nothing but a sandwich. That kind of thing. He would kind of be the kind of guy that would constantly be undermining the confidence of the heroes and have them kind of question whether they're making the right choice or not, or if he, indeed, the Mighty Owlbear, am I the one making the right choices here? Okay, so that's how I would come up with 5 random characters that I just picked out of my binders, and I think it adds a lot to the game. What do you think? Let me know if you use voices, and if you like to, in role playing, there's some nights we don't even have a combat. Some nights we don't even roll a dice. You just have these encounters, and they can be just as much fun. That's not every campaign. That's not every game. But when it does happen, there's something kind of special about that, and people talk about that, and I think they talk very proudly about that. So let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think about using voices for characters? There's good, there's bad, there's all kinds of experiences with this. But I'd like to know what you think, and if you can let me know, I think we can maybe expand this. Maybe we could have a couple more characters. Maybe you could suggest some miniatures, and I could provide what I would do with a voice playing. And I'm going to admit that some of those nights where I do a lot of the voices, my throat's a little sore the next day. You know what I mean? It's like when you're screaming at a concert or at a sporting event, the next day your voice is a little. It's kind of like that. Sometimes it's kind of like that, especially if it's like a 4-hour session and it's just screaming the whole time, which happens, has happened. I mean, it's been since 1981 since I've been playing, so they've had a lot of different experiences over the years. So again, let me know what you think. I tried something different with the lighting this time. I think it's a little too dark, but it's got some mood. Anyway, I'll talk to you later, and toodaloo.